The Logitech G513 was designed to ease the previous generation G413 model into 2018's feature expectations, with per-key RGB lighting and a new luxury wrist rest. It represented a mid-range step away from budget-focused decks and offered solid value for money for those after a taste of bigger things as a result. Whether those additions are enough to stand up against 2022's latest releases, however, is a different story. We put the $149.99 or $149.99 Logitech G513 Carbon up to the test over a course of 2 weeks to see exactly where the full-size deck sits when pitted against the best gaming keyboards on the market right now. Design: a full-size keyboard for those who still want a streamlined desktop. The long, skinny form factor of the Logitech G513 keeps the full-size deck from feeling imposing. In fact, this feels remarkably small under the hands, thanks to slimline bezels and a short height overall. That meant I was still able to get a good mouse swing in without sacrificing the number pad with a TKL board, or the spacing and extra functionality of a 60% or 65% model. If you're after a control panel of keys, but don't want the heft and bulk associated with many gaming keyboards in this form factor, the G513 may be the answer to your prayers. That sizing also contributes to the sleek, sophisticated feel running throughout. From the aluminum base plate, with that classic brushed effect no less, to the deep black of the keycaps and glossy G logo imprinted in the top right corner, this certainly looks like a set of keys worth $150 or $150. Features: while the G513's feature list may have been enough to set it apart from its competition back in 2018, things aren't quite so simple these days. Of course, the $149.99 or $149.99 price tag is far from the upper brackets of gaming keyboard prices these days. With no onboard memory storage, macro options limited to the function row, and no dedicated media buttons, there are a few too many sacrifices to justify this full MSRP today. That said, this deck is regularly featured in gaming keyboard deals, so the features that are available will be far more suited if you find a sub $100 or $100 sale. That's because there's still per-key RGB lighting, USB pass-through, and that all-important wrist rest to contend with. Not only that, but under the hood you'll find Logitech's durable GX switches, which manage to evade that scratchy feel sometimes felt in cherry models that are plugged into the vast majority of decks. Performance: the Logitech G513 performs admirably in-game even today. While its on-paper specs aren't as impressive as a true speed demon like the Razer Huntsman V2, I was still able to maintain solid response times in everyday play and zip across the deck with a nice level of comfort. That meant certain cooldowns and combos were further out of reach than usual, requiring some muscle retraining during more intense moments. Of course, if this is your first time dabbling with making your keyboard your own, that's not going to be such a major flaw. But if you're used to having each command within easy reach, this is going to take some adjusting. While speed and comfort during longer play sessions certainly did the G513 proud in my testing, the overall typing experience was less impressive. Of course, switch feel is all in the hands of the beholder, and a linear lover will always struggle to move over to the tactile side without a learning curve. However, I found the GX Brown switches in our test unit to be a little too heavy for comfortable typing. That's because of the heavier actuation under the fingertip, combined with the slightly wider key spacing of this particular design. All of that made for a slower and slightly less accurate typing process, clocking in at 87 WPM with 97%. I usually clock around 90 WPM with full accuracy, and interestingly came far closer to that rate with the Browns inside the new Logitech G413 SE, compared to the buttery smoothness of the Keychron Q2, also tested with Brown tactile switches. However, this is a particularly cumbersome set of clickers. Should you buy the Logitech G513 Carbon? The Logitech G513 Carbon is a solid piece of kit, even by 2022 standards. Yes, you're sacrificing some of the features we may take for granted just 4 years after this deck's launch: onboard memory, wider programming options, and dedicated media controls, for example. However, if you're looking for long-lasting comfort in a gorgeous, slimline profile, this is an excellent choice if on sale. We've seen this model dropping to just under $100 or $100 in the past, and would suggest holding out for a similar discount for the best value. I'd personally recommend opting for a linear switch if you're going to be typing for long periods of time, as the GX Browns in our test model were a little fatiguing, though. You're getting full programmability for macros across the entire deck, dedicated media controls,
and a full deck design without sacrificing USB pass-through, all for $129.99 or $129.99. If both are sitting at the same price, I'd recommend the majority of players opt for HyperX. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe this channel and leave your comment in the comment section below. What do you think about this particular model?